You ever have one of those days where the universe decides to pull the rug out from under you? Only the rug is your own living room, and the person yanking it is wearing a burgundy blazer and carrying a clipboard like she's about to issue a warrant. Yeah, well, that was me. A Thursday I'll never forget when the so-called Queen of Riverside Meadows decided my house was her new domain. And the crazy part, she didn't even bother knocking. So picture this. I'm in my home office, knee-deep in a stack of legal briefs, red pen in hand, probably muttering about constitutional law to myself when I hear my front door creak open. Not a knock, not a doorbell, just open. At first I thought maybe my housekeeper came early or Amazon finally started delivering to the kitchen. But then I heard heels clicking and this voice, that kind of voice clipped and sour muttering about Section 12.3 and blatant violations. For a second, I genuinely thought I'd hallucinated HOA fines into existence. I set my pen down, crept to the top of the stairs, and what do I see? This woman, mid-50s, hair sprayed into submission, burgundy blazer stretched so tight I wondered if she did push-ups in the boardroom. She's already halfway through my kitchen, yanking open cabinets, snapping photos of my under-sink cleaning supplies like she's building a criminal case. Improper storage, she announces, not even looking up. That's a $25 fine right there. I mean, who fines a guy for where he puts his Windex? Excuse me, I said, calm as I could muster, staring down at her from the stairs. What exactly are you doing in my home? She went still, not scared, just calculating. Then she caught sight of my shirt, federal court seal front and center from last week's charity golf tournament, and her eyes did this cartoon widening thing. I could see her brain doing math she hadn't practiced since grade school. Now let me back up a sec. I only moved to Riverside Meadows 3 months before all this. 20 years as a federal judge. Yeah, I saw some crazy stuff, but nothing prepares you for HOA suburbia. I'd wanted quiet, a backyard with real trees, neighbors who minded their business. Peace. Magnolia Drive with its aging oaks and perfect little lawns seemed like heaven. The day I moved in, the neighbors came by with casseroles and warnings. Watch out for Patricia Harrington, they said. We call her Karen, just not to her face. I figured I'd seen enough courtroom drama. How bad could one HOA president really be? Turns out bad enough to make RICO defendants look polite. My first warning came 2 weeks after moving an envelope under the door saying my mailbox was a half-inch too tall. I measured it. It was fine. Called the HOA, and Patricia herself answered voice all syrup and knives, saying maybe I should swap it out just in case. Sure, lady, whatever you say. Next, I get dinged for recycling bins visible too long, even though I only put them out on collection day. The third letter accused me of harboring excessive dandelions. I just paid a landscaper to make my yard look like a golf course, so go figure. Each time I responded, polite professional proof attached. But every time I pushed back, Patricia pushed harder. I started catching glimpses of her in that same burgundy blazer, lurking on the sidewalk at odd hours, camera in hand. Then came the emails blasting the whole neighborhood about declining property values thanks to residents who don't respect standards. I hadn't even finished unpacking, and suddenly I was the villain in her little kingdom. And then the weird stuff started. A drawer left open. My garage door opener, normally in my car on the kitchen counter, I started to wonder if I was losing it or maybe moving had fried my brain. But then one night I found my back door unlocked. That was it. I stopped playing nice. I had a professional security system installed, motion sensors, cloud backups, the works. Figured if I was going crazy, at least I'd have proof. Didn't have to wait long. The next Tuesday, I'm reviewing footage, and there she is, Patricia Harrington, president of the HOA, walking up to my front door at 2:17 p.m. She glances around, pulls a key from her pocket, and just lets herself in. For 43 minutes, she pokes through my stuff, snapping pictures and muttering about non-approved brands and neighborhood standards. Turns out the key was from the emergency lockbox the HOA kept for first responders, only Patricia treated it like her own backstage pass. Now, a younger version of me might have stormed over right then, but 20 years on the bench taught me patience. I let her dig her own grave. Set up more cameras, kept working from home, and waited. Sure enough, the following Thursday, Patricia shows up like clockwork. This time I let her get comfortable, let her start another little speech about pantry shelf spacing and store-brand pasta. That's when I made my move. That's when I walked down the stairs, slow, deliberate, and said, "Patricia Harrington, you're trespassing in my home." She spun around so fast her clipboard almost went flying. "I have every right to conduct HOA inspections," she snapped. "It's in the bylaws." I could see her bluff and her hand was garbage. "Bylaws allow exterior inspections with notice," I said, holding up my phone. "They do not permit breaking and entering. That's covered under State Criminal Code Section 423.1. Her face turned a shade of red I didn't think was possible. Even her blazer looked embarrassed for her. "I didn't break anything." "I have a key," she insisted. "A key you took from the emergency lockbox meant for first responders," I countered. "That's misuse of resources. At minimum, it's theft of services, possibly fraud." And then I showed her the footage. 3 separate times, Patricia. Each is a Class A misdemeanor, up to a year in jail per incident. Suddenly, she wasn't scribbling anymore. The clipboard slipped from her hands and papers scattered everywhere. She tried to bluster. "You can't prove anything. I'm the HOA president. I have authority. I couldn't help it." I laughed. "Your authority ends at my property line," I said. "And for the record, I should probably introduce myself. Judge Harrison Mitchell, Federal District Court, Eastern District." The color just drained out of her face. You'd think she'd seen a ghost. You're lying. You can't be." "Would you like to see my credentials, or should we call the police and let them verify it?" I asked. Because I was about to call 911, unless you'd rather turn yourself in. "I'm happy to give you a ride." At that, Patricia tried one last Hail Mary. "This is entrapment. You set me up. You moved here just to destroy our standards." I shook my head. "I moved here for peace, Patricia. You committed multiple felonies. That's not entrapment. That's just criminal." She tried to push past me, all flustered, but I stepped aside. "By all means, leave. But no, I'll be filing charges and the evidence is already uploaded." She stormed out, heels clacking, but not before yelling, "The HOA board will hear about this. You'll be fined. You'll be forced out." I smiled, told her I looked forward to the meeting and that my attorney, who specializes in civil rights and malicious prosecution, would be coming with me. The police were thrilled with the footage, made their job easy. 3 counts of breaking and entering, misuse of emergency resources, trespass, you name it. When the HOA board meeting rolled around the next week, you'd think it was a concert. Standing room only. Every neighbor who'd ever gotten one of Patricia's little fines was there, eyes glued to the projector as I played the footage. April 15th, there's Patricia waltzing into my house. April 22nd, same story. April 29th again. People gasped. One board member, Garrett, actually turned green. "Patricia, is this true?" "Did you enter Judge Mitchell's home?" asked the accountant voice, all shaky. Patricia, now with a lawyer in tow, tried to sound tough. "I was conducting authorized inspections. It's my duty." But Margaret, the treasurer, wasn't having it. "Our authority ends at the exterior. This is criminal." The board voted to remove her, unanimous, no debate. Patricia was out just like that. And then the real twist hit. Turns out I wasn't her only victim. Neighbors started coming forward. Stan said she'd entered his place while he was on vacation, moved his furniture around. The Andersons found out she'd been in their basement, taking pictures of their storage. The young couple on the corner. They had footage of her trying their windows. It was like the whole neighborhood finally woke up from a spell. My attorney went to work civil lawsuit for invasion of privacy, emotional distress, trespass. And let me tell you, she was thorough. We discovered Patricia had kept notebooks, pages and pages of notes on residents, their shopping habits, who visited, what they talked about. She wasn't running an HOA, she was running her own little surveillance state. The criminal trial was quick, mountains of evidence, half the neighborhood willing to testify. The jury took less than 2 hours. Guilty on all charges, 3 counts of breaking and entering, each carrying up to a year in jail plus fines. The judge, not me, obviously looked her dead in the eye and said, "You were entrusted with your neighbor's safety. Instead, you violated their most basic rights. 18 months in state prison, 3 years probation, $87,000 in restitution." I'll never forget Patricia's shriek as they let her out, still hollering about protecting property values and maintaining standards. Her heels echoing through the courtroom like a warning, don't ever mistake authority for actual power. So what do you think was justice served? Would you have handled Patricia any differently, or have you seen worse in your neighborhood? Drop your thoughts below. I'd love to hear your own HOA war stories. And if you believe real justice comes from standing up together, hit that subscribe, share your story, and let's make sure no one else gets steamrolled by a clipboard queen again.